Hey folks, and welcome to TK Power Sports. Today we're having a closer look at this, the 2024 Kawasaki Brute Force 750. And for 2024, this ATV has been overhauled. Now honestly, I think we can call it more of an update because the things that really make it good, the nuts and bolts, the chassis, suspension, engine, all of that stuff is the same. It's just the wrapping that has changed. So we're going to go over all of those changes and talk about whether or not this old ATV is still competitive right now. Let me start with the relevant numbers, and no, these have not changed for 2024. So the dimensions measure in at 86 inches long, 46 inches wide, and 47.6 inches tall. The wheelbase measures at 50.6 inches, while ground clearance is listed at 9 inches standard or 9.6 inches with the suspension at max preload. Curb weight with all the fluids ready to ride is 732 pounds, while the fuel capacity here is 19 liters. Finally, your front rack is able to carry up to 88 pounds, while the rear rack is listed to carry 176 pounds. So the model we're looking at in this video is the Brute Force 750 LE, and you can tell that mainly because we're getting these hand guards up here. There's a couple little things that set the LE apart, but that's one of the big ones. Now this model is finished in sage green, which is an interesting color. And then yeah, the styling has been made very blocky. I think that's the best word I can use to describe it. I don't know, my eyes haven't really taken to it yet, but of course this is subjective. So why don't you just drop in the comments right off the top and let me know just what do you think of the new look here on the Brute Force? Now, when it comes to the ATV racks, Kawasaki has always gone under their way to point out these are still made with high-strength steel, and they haven't changed that. They're still steel racks, but they've added these rack covers, these rack guards, which are all plastic. They still allow you to get in here so you can add accessories, and then they leave these little bare sections, so if you need to tie things down with bungees or straps, you can still do that. Up front, we also get this little storage bin, which is included in the nose. It's not all of that deep, but still, it's always nice to have, more storage spots. So cool to have the little nose storage right there. And that's something I feel like more brands are doing. Now, again, nothing new here. Still nice to have, though. So we can close that up. Doesn't want to close for me. Come on, baby. There we go. So as we roll back, I will also point out we do have now a light up here integrated on your handlebars. That's important because, yeah, it turns with the bars. So when you're riding, especially at night, you're going to actually be able to see around the corner as you take the corner. So, of course, this is nothing new in ATVs. Nice to see that addition. What is a little bit more new, though, and what's cool is that this thing has full LED lighting. Kawasaki seems to love LEDs, and I agree with them. It's such a nice quality of light. They're so bright. So yes, it's nice that they went full LEDs all across the Brute Force now, just to give you that really good vision when you're out riding at night. So I showed you the front storage bin. I'll hop on now and show you the other storage here. We got a little bin over here on the left-hand side, which does make me laugh because it says it's rated for 1 pound. So yeah, that's for literally nuts and bolts and not much else if you listen to their weight rating. Love having that storage. And then over here on the right-hand side, you get this sort of rubber, mesh storage. So if you are to throw something in there that's a little bit bigger, it's actually gonna hold onto it for you. So yeah, I really like that storage bin. Then when it comes to the actual handlebars, everything's very typical. The four-wheel drive system here is simple. Two-wheel and four-wheel drive on your right hand. Start, stop, kill switch, override. Everything's basically exactly what you expect it to be on an ATV. The one thing that's always been a bit different about the Brute Force is the front differential control. So to lock up your diff, you're actually holding that handle and you're holding it down. And while you're holding it, you're locked up. The second you let go, it unlocks. This is unlike basically any other ATV on the market. Most of these are just another switch that you hit and the front diff lock is actually electronic, whereas here it is strictly mechanical. So that's something a little different. And yeah, when you're out riding in those tricky technical spots, doing rock crawling or something, you don't really want to have to be holding this down. So it would have been nice to see Kawasaki maybe upgrade that, but they chose to leave it alone. Now, likely the largest upgrade you're going to notice is this 4.2-inch screen directly in front of me right here. So I'll just turn the power on. It's just a really nice looking screen. The graphics are really clear and crisp. And I would say it's probably the nicest screen I've seen on an ATV. Polaris is pretty good too. But yeah, this one, just the visual quality of it really does stand out next to other ATVs. So it's nice that they added that to give us, you know, sort of a little more technology on what is still quite an old unit. So I'll hop off now and let's peel the seat off and take a look underneath. So it's given you some access down into your engine, and I haven't even mentioned the engine yet. Yes, that is a 750cc V-twin 4-stroke. Nothing has changed there for 2024 because it is a solid engine. It's known for its reliability, so they kept it that way. And then just behind the engine here, you're getting all your electronics, a little fuse box there, a couple things that are pre-wired, so if you were to add accessories, you can grab your power from right there. And then right here in front of the driver, this is your air box. So not only can you peel that open, change out your filter, but it's always nice to know exactly how deep you can sink your ATV before it starts sucking water into the engine. And the answer is right there in front of the rider. So yeah, decent access. The only thing I don't see is easy access to your battery. That's usually typical underneath the seat, but that is not here. So as we roll back, I already pointed out the racks. This one has that plastic cover as well. I like that they leave this big steel bar exposed back here. So if you're pulling somebody or you're trying to pull this thing out, you can get to it. And then you can look below. This is a very typical dual A-arm suspension setup. And that's another area where this ATV does kind of fall behind, is in suspension travel. So talking travel, you're getting 6.9 inches in the front and 7.4 inches in the rear. Not huge numbers, and of course there's no compression control here, anything like that. You do have preload, so you can adjust your preload down here at the bottom of the shocks, but that's really basic. Again, for 2024, you're calling it an overhaul. It would have been nice to see some upgraded suspension technology, maybe some clickers on those shocks, but Kawasaki didn't do that. And then when it comes to towing, no 2-inch hitch receiver. You're just getting the hole there where you can fit the shank down in, and I'm a big proponent of the 2-inch hitch. I just think having that receiver means you can already use the hitches you own. Just makes more sense. But once again, that would have required Cowie to go back to the drawing board and engineer something new. And they didn't do that. They updated this thing just enough to give it new packaging and make it seem fresh, but all the nuts and bolts, the important stuff, like the hitch, they left them alone. Towing capacity off that hitch is 1,250 pounds, which is a pretty good competitive number. And then the other thing I should mention, a set of 25-inch tires. This is the sort of thing that also would have been nice to see upgraded, especially here on the LE model. You could have thrown us some 27s or something just to sort of add to the package. But Kawasaki didn't do that either. They really didn't change anything with the engineering of the Brute Force. And that sort of leads to the next big question. And I recently asked this same question in a Honda Rubicon review, which is, does old equal bad? The short answer, I think, is no, and the argument in favor of old is tried and true, reliable, and this Brute Force is known for being extremely reliable. And a company like Kawasaki, when they nail a powertrain like that and they know everything about it, they don't like to change it. Honda, Yamaha, and Kawasaki are all kind of guilty of this, if you want to look at it that way. Once they have a good package, they like to keep it the same for as long as possible, and that's what's going on here with the Brute Force 750. They decided, hey, that thing works good, it's reliable, let's leave those things alone and just change a few other things to make it a little more modern, to make sure it doesn't feel like it really is, you know, decades old, even though underneath, yeah, it is. So that's the question I kind of always put back to you guys. I'm curious to hear your response is, do you think Kawasaki is way behind the times with the Brute Force, or are they smart by keeping this reliable package underneath, at least, still going on today's market? I'm personally somewhere in the middle. I like the fact that this thing is tried, trusted, and reliable, but I also like to see some innovation. I like to see companies coming up with new, exciting, creative ways to make their machines better, and that is not what is happening here with the Brute Force. So drop in the comments right now and just let me know, do you think this is a smart move by Kawasaki, updating the exterior while keeping the nuts and bolts the same, or do you think they've fallen way behind the times? Well, folks, we're coming to the end of this one. Now, this was just the walk around. I like to dig into all the features, but we are going to do a full riding review here on the Brute Force, so make sure you stay tuned for that. I will leave you with the price. Here on our LE model, you're talking about $14,400, which is competitive. It's right there with everything else on the market, but that's the one area where, because it's so old, you'd kind of hope, hey, maybe I'm gonna save some money. That's not really the case here. So folks, that's it for this one. Now I need you to drop into the comments, let me know all of your thoughts on this Kawasaki Brute Force, and hey, tell me what you want to see out of the full review. We're always reading the comments, we're always listening, so please chime in, and I might take your suggestions and put them into practice on video. And then while you're down there leaving that comment, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, hit join to become a member of TK Power Sports, and then come right back here to the channel to see what we're testing next. See you.